many people already here know that an IDF soldier basically took a big hammer to a Jesus statue in Lebanon and started smashing it. And that video has gone viral and it has become a huge propaganda tool for all the anti-Israeli Christians in the United States, basically coming out and saying, I told you so. These people hate Christians. These people are not our allies. This is how Israel is. They have a negative view of Christians and Christianity and Christian countries. They're just using us. So I just want to share that with you guys and go over some of the reactions and then see what you guys are saying. All right, so let me go over the video. So this is what it looks like. I mean, it's not a video, it's an image. But
a photo showing an Israeli soldier in southern Lebanon destroying a statue of Jesus has sparked widespread outrage. The image shows the soldier taking the blunt side of an axe to a fallen sculpture of Jesus on the cross. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has condemned the incident, saying he is stunned and saddened by the image. The Israeli military says the incident is being investigated. A photo showing an
all right, so that was that. At first, when it came out, a lot of people were saying maybe it's AI, but then the IDF did an investigation, and they were like, "Yeah, no, this is real." But here's another video. So let me see what this is. I think is this the aftermath of the same thing? Am I getting this right? Yeah, I think so.
16 12 2025 اخر السنه هذا
Is this the aftermath of the same thing? I don't know. Or some people.
كسرين الصليب هلا لميناه.
I'm not sure actually, but this person was saying, oh yeah, this person saying, imagine Muslim did this. I don't know, that's weird because Muslims do this and you get less reaction. I don't understand what this person is saying. Muslims do this all the time. So we got here, we say according to Muslim, this is an idol. Even if you want to be a Christian in a Muslim country, you can't have like a Jesus, worshiping a Jesus statue. That's an idol. This is the most Islamic thing you could do. I don't understand what the guy's point is. Anyways, so going over here, the IDF soldier who smashed a statue of Jesus with a sledgehammer in southern Lebanon has been dismissed from combat duty and sentenced to 30 days in jail. The soldier who filmed him received the same punishment. I don't like, guys. I understand the outrage, but I also don't understand the outrage. I understand the outrage because I know how much Jew hatred exists around the world. But I saw Piers Morgan. Someone's mic is open, guys. Please close your mic when you're not speaking. I saw Piers Morgan was saying, "Look, this is happening from the so-called most moral army in the world." I don't understand what Piers Morgan is saying. Is your understanding of us saying that Israel has the most moral army in the world is that they don't have a single misbehaving soldier? Is that the standard that you think that we were suggesting that IDF has? I don't understand what these people expect. Do they like there's not a single army in the world that doesn't have misbehaving soldiers. So I don't like the fact that this caused outrage and it went so viral as a way to attack Israel. It shows that it's basically the Jews against the Jewish element. So he had this person saying, "What is it? Who's this guy?" Official. Okay, so this guy's IDF spokesperson saying the IDF is current. This was before they came out saying the sentence for those soldiers. The IDF is currently examining the reliability of the photograph. If this is indeed a real recent picture, these actions do not align with the IDF's values and the behavior expected of IDF soldiers. Like, yeah, that's like these Americans attacking Israel because of this one IDF soldier have to go look back in Iraq and see how their soldiers were behaving, some of their soldiers. I mean, we don't judge the morality of the entire American army based on the behavior of every single American soldiers. If Israel is a bad country because of some soldiers misbehaving, then I don't know if Americans, I mean, people in glass houses shouldn't be throwing any stones. There's plenty of examples for American soldiers doing the most disgusting, vile things, and we still consider America to have one of the most moral armies in the world. The most you could expect from an army is to do exactly this: investigate and punish. So, and the incident, yeah, the claim that this soldier represents the values of the IDF is ridiculous. It's retarded, saying the incident will be investigated thoroughly and in depth, and if necessary, steps will be taken in accordance with the findings. And then the IDF itself quote tweeted that, saying, following the completion of an initial examination regarding a photograph published earlier today of an IDF soldier harming a Christian symbol, it was determined that the photograph depicts an IDF soldier operating in southern Lebanon. By the way, are these people retarded? Not only they did this, they recorded themselves and they put out the information out there. Like, these two soldiers who did this, like, are they like, what the fuck is wrong with them? Like, even if you are, somebody, a bad soldier, at least stop. If you want to do something bad, at least don't be retarded about it. Like, they posted this. Like, did they not know what's going to happen by posting this? This is weird, saying the IDF views the incident with great severity and emphasizes that the soldiers' conduct is wholly inconsistent with the values expected of its troops. The incident is being investigated by the Northern Command and is currently being addressed through the chain of command. Appropriate measures will be taken against those involved in accordance with the findings. Furthermore, the IDF is working to assist the community in restoring the statue to its place. The IDF is operating to dismantle the terrorist infrastructure established by Hezbollah in southern Lebanon and has no intention of harming civilian infrastructure, including religious buildings or religious symbols. And I think then we had, hold on, where is this? Prime Minister Netanyahu, I think, made a statement about this thing. As the Jewish state, Israel cherishes and upholds the Jewish values of tolerance and mutual respect between Jews and worshippers of all faith. All the religions flourish in our land, and we view members of all faith as equals in building our society and region. Yesterday, like the overwhelming majority of Israelis, I was stunned and saddened to learn that an IDF soldier damaged a Catholic religious icon in southern Lebanon. I condemned the act in the strongest terms. Military authorities are conducting a criminal probe of the matter and will take appropriately harsh disciplinary action against the offender. While Christians are being slaughtered in Syria and Lebanon by Muslims, the Christian population in Israel thrives. Unlike elsewhere in the Middle East, Israel is the only country in the region that and the Christian population and standard of living is growing. Israel is the only place in the Middle East that adheres to freedom of worship for all. We express regret for the incident and for any hurt this caused to believers in Lebanon and around the world. And we already covered that. Okay, so here's the interesting. Look at this. The IDF brought a, I think, new statue for them, saying a short while ago. So this is by the IDF, saying a short while ago, in full coordination with the local community of Debel in southern Lebanon, the damaged statue was replaced by IDF troops. This actually looks better. We got an upgrade. The Northern Command worked to coordinate the replacement of the statue from the moment it received the report of the incident. The IDF expresses deep regret over the incident and is working to ensure that it does not happen again in the future. Wow, look at this. Oh my god, this actually looks a lot better. Okay, so And then I saw this post, which was interesting. Somebody saying, when you're defending Israel and some retarded IDF soldier destroys a crucifix and Jesus sculpture, and now you know every single person is going to somehow apply to every Jew Israeli automatically. So, yeah, this is what we're dealing with right now. And yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys think about this. This is becoming a huge weapon by the Jew haters and anti Israeli people worldwide.
Okay, so on my response list, I have myself first. We live in a world of 8 billion people, which means that in any substantial population, you'll find some variability. And you can't judge a nation by the actions of individuals because you'll find individuals that do all sorts of things. However, you can judge a nation based on its response to actions of individuals. So the response to this action, which didn't even involve loss of life, has received widespread condemnation by Israeli society. In contrast, on October 7th or 8th, the response to people recording themselves while murdering, burning, and raping people in an order that may surprise you has been met with widespread celebration across the Islamic world, including in Harvard and in Times Square. Um, so uh, it's crazy to compare the two. Um, whoever that is, please close your mic.
Samantha, it's Samantha.
Oh, okay. Samantha is next. She's allowed to talk, but she also said that she didn't want to open her mic.
Yeah, don't close your guys. Please, when somebody else is speaking, make sure your mics are closed. Danny, what you explained seems very obvious to me. I have a question though. Why is it so hard? Why do you think it's so hard for people to understand such such basic logic? It makes I don't understand. Like, are they are so many people this retarded, or is this just their bias?
Yeah, I think it's just bias, and you don't have to have complex thoughts if those complex thoughts are going to force you to reevaluate your whole position. It's much easier to just not think very hard, I guess. That's my guess.
One thing else that is very telling, most of the people who are now attacking Israel for one IDF soldier destroying a Jesus statue were never there to condemn Muslims massacring Christians in Africa. Like, they were completely like, the statue is more important to them than the lives of thousands of Christians that continue to be killed and oppressed to this day in so many Muslim communities, and also especially right now in Nigeria as well. And none of these people would have condemned that. But again, one statue gets so much outrage, and Christians' actual human lives doesn't get the same level of attention because the people who are doing it are not Jews, they're Muslims.
Okay, so I'm going to read Samantha's response because I think she can't open her mic right now, and that was an accident. Samantha says, what the soldier did is wrong and he deserves to spend time in jail. Israel also owes the Lebanese a replacement statue.
No, I do
Yeah,
not agree with that. What? No. Replacement? Wait, what does that mean? Replacement? Like,
well,
where?
well, if they destroyed a statue, presumably they should get the replacement statue.
Oh, okay. Replacement. I thought statue. I thought you were talking about like the right of return or something like that. Okay. Yes, obviously. They gave them one. So yes. I thought she was talking about like the right of return or something. Statue. Okay. That makes more sense. All right. Okay, yes, you're right.
Uh, I definitely agree with this, but not just because destroying statues is so bad that you should spend time in jail, but that when you're part of an army, you need to act professionally and you should punish that seriously. Okay. So let me figure out who else wanted to respond because it's been just me speaking and it's kind of hard. Okay, Treaty is next.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, everyone. I'm sorry to see that, but however, if that was me investigating, I would have clarified the authenticity of the video first, as Armin said, to make sure it's a real video and it's not a made up video, or like the stage video that they create just to for some sort of agenda. Secondly, I would have find if the authenticity was real and it was a real video, I would have checked who has done it, the identity of the person who
They
has
have
done it.
they have Triti, I already showed you that the IDF has already done the investigation. They did.
Yeah, yeah. Even if I didn't know that you were saying that, this is the routine I would have gone by. So without any judgment, prejudgment. So secondly, I would have find out who the person is and why he has done it and the reason behind it, what benefit, who actually benefits from this type of action. So it's certainly not IDF. So if there was just a attitude of some organization that they don't benefit from this type of actions
No,
bad.
no, no. The IDF treaty. I already said the IDF investigated it. It was legitimate, and they're punishing the soldiers. I don't know why we're even discussing these other options. I already showed you on screen that the IDF investigated it, and they determined it was IDF soldiers, and they're punishing them.
No, but well, these are the points that I was going one by one. So if you wouldn't say if you didn't say that, if that was just a video I was seeing on the internet, these are the steps I would have gone to make sure I'm getting to the result that it when you watch a video, and you
Yes,
don't have to.
I get it, Treaty, but like I don't understand the point of saying you're basically saying if it was me, I would investigate this before coming to like of course, like that goes without saying, and the IDF already did that. So I don't understand saying like, oh, this should have been investigated before coming to conclusion. Well, it was. So I don't understand the point of that.
I think an individual who does that, the IDF needs to find out what was the reason behind their action, right?
Well,
And
they
and
did. They investigated, and you're saying that again. Repeat. You're repeating that, and I'm saying you're saying the IDF should have investigated this, and they did. So, okay. Anything else?
I'm not saying they haven't, Armin. Why aren't you
Okay.
understanding me? I'm
I
saying
understand.
I'm
Are
saying
you gonna? Yeah, I get you. I get you. But you don't need to repeat the parts that you already mentioned. Any other points you want to add?
I wanted to say that overall action and behavior of IDF needs to be looked at rather than just one individual act. So when I'm looking at the IDF in total, in general, that's not their policy, that's not their attitude towards other religion and especially towards Christianity. They don't have that sort of behavior towards Christianity or other religions. So just one individual act of IDF doesn't determine their. So, for example, in Islam, we know they rape children and they execute children. They even do bad stuff to the dead body, as we've seen recently. So this is the general attitude of a jihadi Muslim. But is this action, this video that you just showed, is not a general attitude of IDF. That's what I'm trying to say. If you understand what I'm saying.
Right. Right. Yeah. But just to be clear, in Islam, you do rape children in Islam. You do also execute children in Islam. You're not allowed to have sex with dead bodies in Islam. So the third one
But
is
they
not.
did
The
that. They did that.
I
They
know,
were.
but treaty. Like when I'm saying something, don't interrupt me, okay?
Wait, wait,
I
you keep
know
interrupting me, Armin.
you finished, and I'm adding to it. You finished, and I'm adding
No,
to it. Okay.
before.
Oh my God. Are you done? Can I speak now?
Yeah, I put my microphone down.
Okay. Okay. So in Islam, you are allowed to rape children. Okay. You are allowed to execute children. There's nothing in Islam that allows you to have sex with dead bodies. That's haram in Islam. I'm just saying that's not in accordance with Islam. I'm just telling you what is in accordance in Islam. I'm not defending Islam, given that I'm telling you that you can rape children in Islam. Obviously, this is not me defending Islam. I'm just telling you what's in accordance with Islam and what's not in accordance with Islam. All right.
Uh, can I clarify about that? Are you allowed to rape male children or female children under the age of 9?
Male, no. Female, yes. I mean, the thing is that there is no consent. Consent is not a factor, right? I mean, unless you're talking about the consent of the father or the male guardian or whatever, right? But according to hadith, yeah, it seems it's hadith may suggest that you have to wait until 9, but if you read the Quran and you add 3 verses next together, you will understand the Quran allows before. The Quran has no age limit. The Quran makes it very clear that you could have sex with children even before puberty, and consent is not a factor.
As long as it's not gay. Okay, Turun is next.
Yes, just not gay. Don't no gay stuff.
Okay, I just wanted to respond to that saying actually, there is gay stuff that is done by Muslims. If you've watched the movie Durandar, you will see that, which I actually would like to ask all of you guys to watch. It's a really nice movie. But my point is, in that movie, they show a scene where Pakistani Muslims, there's this one Indian agent that goes into there, and what they do
Wait,
is
wait,
they
that's not.
touch his
We're talking
cock.
about the statue. We're talking about the statue, right? That this topic. Also, what Muslims do and what Islam allows are two different things. Okay, just
Okay.
because Muslims do gay stuff, that doesn't mean it's allowed in Islam. Those are two different things, right?
Okay, because yeah, because a lot of okay, I'm gonna get onto this. So it seems to me at this point that the world is just I know this makes me sound like Captain Obvious, but I think the world is just biased at this point more than we can even reconcile. So it's just impossible to reason with these kind of people, anti-Semites, Islamophilic people, people who just like biased in favor of Islam, who just hate Israel. I think that these people are just beyond what can be reasoned with, and the fact that they would just use this one post to say that Israelis are bad just shows that we should not argue with these kind of people. We should just focus on getting the innocent people to start, people as an innocent as in people who aren't sure, who aren't exactly on the side of Israel or Islam, who don't really know about this. Any of them we can get on the side of understanding the truth about Israel. We should focus on that rather than getting these anti-Semitic people to change their mind, because they're not going to change their mind. People who just ignore whatever bad things Muslims do to Christians, they're not going to change their mind. They're just a waste of time at this point.
Well, I mean, I believe in two strategies. There are some people that might change their mind, but I do agree that that's not enough to try to reach out to people to try to change their mind. I think that there should be also a lot of focus in just crushing and destroying your enemy. So I think there are some people that are low hanging fruit, and maybe if you talk to them and advertise, you might be able to change their mind. But for other people that the return on investment when it comes to trying to reach out to them is low, then you just need to destroy them as your enemy. I also think that I'm also trying to make it become a thing where we don't call these people anti-Semites. I don't think it's a powerful enough word. I think Jew haters is better. It goes harder. It's a stronger word to describe these people. So I'm just like, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I think a Jew hater just hits differently than anti-Semite.
Okay, but Armin, I have a question. Do you understand the meaning of the phrase, it is easier to build strong children than to fix broken adults? I think that has a lot to do with what I'm trying to say here.
Ah, yeah. I know. Yeah, I agree, and I think that's why we should reach out to their children. We should try to, work on their children.
Yeah,
Some
because
of
these
the
adults are not going to change. They're not
well,
going
yeah,
to
some
change
of
their
them
mind.
might. I've seen some people change, but some of them might. But most of them won't. I agree. Most of them won't. Most of them won't, but some of them will. But I agree that we should try to reach out to their children somehow before their brainwashing works completely. So I
But
agree
what
with
I
that, though.
but what I think is Jew hatred is really like it's like, you know how a virus takes over the human body, like the levels. I
Mhm.
think the level that Jew hatred has infected the West generally today is, and this is a thing that they've had from the time of the Middle Ages. So it's like it's a very old disease that they've had. So it's going to be much more harder to find a vaccine for something that they've had from the medieval era. They've been like, there's this one
It's not just the
Shakespeare.
West. It's the West, the East, the North, the South. It's everywhere. Jew hatred is everywhere.
There's a literal story called The Merchant of Venice, a play written by Shakespeare, where the main bad guy is a Jew who expects people to give him money because they
Yeah.
owe him money. So
By the way,
you only
Tyrone, like I don't know if you know this or not, but I want to see your thoughts. You know, Mein Kampf is a bestseller in India, right?
I didn't know. I didn't know that at all. I thought we're the only people who were actually loving the Jews. I don't know
Well,
why that.
recently, yeah. Recently, yes, because the Jews are the best at defeating Muslims. So you guys are enjoying that so much that now you have changed your minds.
No, like
Right.
even during
So,
ancient times when they first came to India, we never hated them. We treated them the same way you guys treated them, with like respect, without like me and us and you guys are some of the only people who didn't treat the Jews like the way Hitler did. Everyone else did that. But
right.
us and I think to an extent the Greeks, but the Jew hatred is actually something new in India. We haven't had that in India
No,
for a
you're
long for
yeah, you're right. You're right. So you might be right. So I don't know why Mein Kampf was a bestseller in India. I don't think it might have not been because of his Jew hatred. Might be just because of his racial supremacist view,
Aryan,
but
yeah,
not the
the
Jew.
Aryan.
Yeah, maybe.
The
Mm. So let me just check. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not giving bad information. Mein Kampf has consistently appeared as bestseller lists in India for decades and remains a staple in bookstores and street side stalls. Many Indian students and business professionals view the book as a self help or a motivational guide about a man from a humble background who rose to absolute power through sheer willpower. Okay, interesting.
Okay, like Armin, let me explain why I think that's true. It's because you see, Hitler, and I'm not trying to justify or defend this guy. He was a horrible person, but the fact
Oh my
remains
God.
that he
But,
he was more than just the guy who killed the Jews. For lots of people, he was more than just that. People think he's a,
oh
and I
no.
don't think I'm his lover. I'm not defending him. I don't like this
Mm.
guy, but the same guy. Don't worry,
But
I'm not defending this guy, but this guy, for many people, they think he was a German nationalist. He built up the German military, which he did. That doesn't justify his awful actions, but he still did all that kind of stuff. So for this reason,
you know,
people are his
you know,
fans.
somehow
They
I'm
think
not
war is horrible.
Taran, somehow I'm not surprised that somebody from Hindutva, when talking about Hitler, they're like he was horrible, but somehow I'm not surprised that somebody from Hindutva would have a
uh,
but after.
I'm
we're
sorry.
getting
It's just
no.
I was
Ah,
brainwashed
yeah,
by
I
these
know,
people
I
as
know,
well.
I know, I know, you can't help.
Guys,
It's okay,
we're
it's
getting
okay.
I can't
completely
help
Well,
off
it.
it's not
topic.
okay, but
So
all
if
right, all
if you
right.
want to talk about this, you can put a one in the chat and have a different topic about this. But I still have a bunch of people that want to respond to the original topic about the IDF soldier taking down that Jesus statue. So let me move on with that list of people for now. Sherry is next.
Hi, Armin. Thanks for all you do. I just wanted to say I am I'm totally horrified and mortified by that video, that picture. However, I think I'm very much in agreement with you. You have bad actors no matter where you go. I don't think we discount all of IDF, and I'm totally, or Israel, or anyone. Soldiers of the USA soldiers have done terrible things too that I'm just not thrilled with. Everybody can make us look bad if they want to. I appreciate the fact that they did their investigation. They've decided because the bottom line is that no matter how terrible it is, and I don't like it, the bottom line is that now you have someone who's supposed to represent your your military, your country, its goodness, its abilities, etc. So I, I think you agree with me. I think most everybody does. It's horrific to me, but I appreciate the steps that are being taken.
Yes, yes. And also, let's not forget that there's no better place to be a Christian in the Middle East than Israel, like without competition. Or
100%
yeah,
agreed.
or an atheist,
I
or a Muslim. Oh yeah, we go.
I just
Yeah,
wanted to put
like I said, I don't really care for it in any way, shape, or form, but it's not going to affect my overall view of Israel, the Jewish people, IDF. It's
Right,
just not going to. There's way too much good out there
right.
to
Thank you,
count.
Sherry.
right.
I'm gonna have to
Thank
put a
you.
time limit from now on because we have a long list. And reminder for people just joining, if you want to get on this list of people to speak, put a 2 in the chat to quickly respond or a 1 to bring a new topic. Okay, and Like, try to be like 30 seconds for the rest of the people that are responding. Cindy is next.
Listen, I'm Christian, and I'm appalled at how my Christian brothers and sisters are being so ugly and so horrible to, well, in response to this, the Jewish, they lump all the Jews together. They don't know that in Israel there are lots of different kinds of people, and in the IDF is not just Jews. I mean, there's Muslim people, Israelis, there's Druze, there's all different people, and it makes me so upset. But what I was going to say is motivation. You've heard of Trump derangement syndrome in America, and how there are people that hate Trump so much that they would rather, accuse Trump of being manipulated by Bibi Netanyahu to go to a war that is a war of choice and all this baloney and this stupid stuff, when all a normal, decent human being should want is the Iranian people to be free. That's all any normal, decent human being should want. I wonder if maybe there's such a thing as the leftist Israelis. Perhaps there could be an element in the IDF, because the IDF is made up of all kinds of Israelis. So maybe the people who demolished the statue could have been sort of left leaning, and maybe maybe they had a Netanyahu derangement syndrome and really disliked the Israeli government, even though they're in the IDF. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe there's some derangement going on with the people who did this. So any comments would be welcome. Thank you, guys.
I mean, I'll ask other Israelis here, but my guess would be somebody doing like that is probably more likely to be far right than far left, right?
The leftist Israelis are known for lots of crazy things, but this is not the type of crazy thing that they would do.
Okay.
This looks a lot more like some religious guy that just doesn't like religions other than Judaism.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's okay. That's a good question. I mean, here's the thing: they do exist, right? Like the problem with the people who hate Israel or Jews is that they find some crazy religious nut jobs in Israel, and they try to act like all of Israel is like that. But we shouldn't overcorrect to the other side to suggest that they do. Like I went to Israel and I met some religious nut jobs. Like there are. I met a rabbi at the Wailing Wall that told me that he has good news for me because soon I get to be the slave of Jews. Because end of times is coming, and soon I will have the honor of being the slave of Jews. So these people do exist. We just have to be careful not to act like they're the majority in Israel. Like most of Israel hates them, but they are there. They do exist.
Okay, next, let's
But
go
good
to
question.
Blake.
In terms of the motivation, I'm wondering if this has something to do with the Pope's recent comments against America and Israel, and if that was part of why a specifically Catholic thing was targeted.
You're saying maybe there's a motivation for going something specifically Catholic?
Because it wasn't just a Christian thing, right? It was specifically a Catholic crucifix.
Again,
that was put up
I don't know because I don't have the data.
Oh,
But
okay.
if I had to guess,
I thought
if I
somebody
had to
said it was
guess,
Catholic, but I'm just wondering if it was motivated by the Pope's comments that were like pro IRGC and anti-America and Israel.
if I had to guess, but I don't know. They do exist. They do exist. People like that in Israel.
Okay, next person is Shauna.
I'm on my app. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The phone is always wonky. I just also wanted to point out that sometimes people, including Jewish people, are just do things for petty, stupid reasons. Like it could just be literally his Christian girlfriend broke up with him the day before, or some shit like that. Like it could literally be that small. This is a young man with testosterone who's in the middle of the fog of war. Like, I'm not saying what he did was right, but my first thought is like, what's going on in that young man's life? My first thought was not like this religious thing. My first thought is, oh wow, a young man with a dick got pissed off. Okay, like I don't like that was my first thought.
I don't. Okay, Sean. Everything is possible. Okay, everything is possible. Um, like if we want to go through the possibilities, he might have just thought like, oh, I don't like the colors, that's what I'm going to break it. But honestly, without having more information, the most likely explanation is that this guy doesn't like Christianity, because there are people like that in Israel. And of course, there are some people like that in IDF. Given all the possibilities, that is the most likely. I think that we might, if we try to come up with other scenarios, we're over adjusting to the other side. Like, how the people who want to blame all Jews and all Israel are making it seem like this demonstrates what Israel stands for. I just want us to not try to overcorrect to other side, to be like, oh, it's possibly not even anti-Christianity, because I know that people like that do exist in Israel. I mean, every country has its fair share of like assholes. So like when we celebrate Israel, we're not trying to exaggerate and be like they don't have bad people, they don't have like bigots against other religious people. Like, they have that as well, just like every other country. We don't want to, you know. Does that make sense?
I'm not trying to like say that that's not what I think. I think that is probably the thing, but I just want to point out, I guess I want to be I want to make sure that we also just humanize these young men and allow them to have a shitty day once in a while, and allow them to have a personal like grudge or whatever. I do think it's mostly likely either a
I don't
Muslim
agree.
or somebody on the hard right, but
I, I don't agree. I agree with the IDF investigated it and punished both of those soldiers. I think the IDF did the right thing. I
no,
I,
no, no,
I
I'm
think the
not saying don't
IDF.
punish him. I'm saying when we
Oh.
speculate on these things, sometimes we take it. While I do think the evidence suggests just anti-Christianity, I also think that we should just not always assume that and make it this big theological thing. I think sometimes people just do things to let off steam.
Yeah, but this is about for me. I think we have to make it a big deal because we're trying to save the reputation of Israel, and Israel should actually treat this as if this was like a really big deal.
Oh,
Because okay,
sorry, let me just clarify. I mean, us on the internet circle jerking should allow for should give some grace to the IDF soldier. I'm not saying the Israeli army and the Israeli military shouldn't take it seriously.
grace to the IDF soldier. Like, I don't really care about that person's like that's just one individual, right? Like, I wasn't even thinking about him. I'm not concerned with him as a person. I'm concerned about Israel, and that is a bigger like, he's so insignificant that I wasn't really thinking about like, oh, the poor guy, he's probably had a bad day.
No, no, no.
I don't
Okay.
care. I don't care about him.
Well, and I think we're kind
Yeah.
of circling, and there's a long list. So I'm going to just say, yeah, I just wanted to point out that he's a young man. It could have been anything. The end.
Well,
All right,
young
bye.
men have committed war crimes. Here's the thing. So, young men, American soldiers in Iraq, very young, have committed some of the most evil shit ever, right? And we don't go like, oh, it's just young boy. Like, I guess like people, they had a bad day, right? So them being young is not a justification. Young people, like most horrific war crimes in history has happened by the hands of young men. So saying he's a
I'm
young
not.
man is like,
I'm not
yeah.
asking for justification. I'm saying that we're taking it into this big online. What I'm seeing is people turning into this huge thing between Christianity and Judaism and Islam, blah 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 blah. All this big
No,
theological
we're not
stuff.
doing that. We're doing the opposite. We're trying to avoid it turning into a whole Christian versus Jewish thing, right? Like,
Well, I
I
think that's
don't.
what we're doing. But on the internet in general, I'm just trying to throw out the fact that he's also just a human being. I'm not saying I care about him or that I don't think
Yeah,
he should
so
be
was
punished.
Hitler. I don't understand what the point. Saying he's a young man or a human being, I don't understand what that says to us, because I don't know.
I
So is,
want to keep
yeah.
open all possibilities for his motivation, and if other things like this come up, that's all. That's literally my only point. I just want to make sure that we're also
We're
allowing
we're
for.
so
Yeah,
But
let's
there's
move
a
on.
we're
long
going
list, so
based
we
on
really got to get going.
probabilities. We're not going based on every possibility, because okay, if we, like
We're
going
gonna.
through every possibility is not a good exercise, because then I could come up with the most ridiculous scenarios, right? Like, yeah, everything is
Okay.
possible, but we're going to go with what's probable.
Okay.
Let's move on, and we can come back to
Sounds good.
this after he testifies in trial or whatever happens.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeffrey is next.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeffrey?
just real quickly, a couple, because I'm just hearing about this. Hezbollah has a documented history of using religious and cultural significant locations and icons for operational military purposes. For instance, the church in, I can't pronounce this, Al Qiyam, I'm probably mispronouncing that, was kind of like an exemplary of Hezbollah doing that. The full detailed IDF report regarding the Debel statue incident has not been released. They're in the process of fleshing all of that out, like the 6 soldiers that were also involved. They had them come in and do, interviews of clarification. If you have to forgive me, when the weather's done, my migraines will be done. I'll be a lot more articulate. 3 things come to mind. One, we should probably wait for all the specifics of the IDF investigation to come out, particularly regarding the motives of why this happened. I think that's where Shauna was going. Was it maliciously intended? Was it premeditated? Was it driven by operational concerns? Like, did the kid think that maybe Hezbollah was hiding, like, I don't know, communications or surveillance stuff? I mean, I know what the IDF's preliminary statement was, and I get why they said it. Furthers really government responses to the incident. Once all of those findings are done, I think that the IDF and Bibi's government took a very appropriate approach to this. And finally, is to understand that apparent acts by individual soldiers, this kind of touches base on what Armin said. No matter how disturbing or potentially heinous they may be, do not define an entire military operation or a military, in this case, the IDF as a whole. That said, there is the issue of the optics issue, right? Which is why we're discussing it, because you have any number of, let's say, actors that are in opposition to U.S. and Israeli-led operations against the Mullah regime remnants, or Mullah regime and now the regime remnants, are using this as a wedge issue to fragment a coalition in support of that effort. So, those are things that are all lost in, those are all the kind of nuances and details that are lost in all the hullabaloo, which is, again, it's very good that you had this talk, Armin. Sorry, I gotta put some on here.
No worries. I do think that the IDF must have been they felt pretty confident that this guy was in the wrong if they gave him a 30-day prison sentence, and then they also said that this is unacceptable and all stuff like that. They wouldn't throw the soldier under the bus unless they were kind of sure that he fucked up, right? But okay.
Okay, Joshua?
A quick comment about something that you mentioned earlier. It blows my mind that there's somebody that approached you there and said, soon you will be the slave of us. Because they also had skinhead Nazis there in Israel at one point in time. Just wanted to hear your response to that.
What? The skinhead Nazis in where?
In Israel. They were skinhead Nazis in the middle of Israel at one point, like right there. Like actual Nazis.
So what's the question?
Well, like, did it give off that vibe? Like, whenever they said, soon you're going to be the slaves of us, did that person give off a Nazi-esque vibe at all? Because maybe that could still be alive out there.
No, he didn't give me the vibe as a racist Nazi, because he thought that he was saying it with love. Okay, he was saying it as if, like, I should be happy. Yeah.
Still doesn't make sense.
He said that he thought that was like a favor to us non-Jews. So it's a different kind of racism.
It's mind-blowing, Armin. It's mind-blowing that somebody would think that it is a mercy to be a slave. I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, I'm done with that.
Clarify that. I just want to make sure that, like, I want to make sure, I know I already said this, but I want to say it again. The vast majority of Israelis hate these people, okay? Like, I just want to make sure that nobody here thinks that I'm, like, trying to suggest that the Israelis are like that. Okay, yeah.
Okay, Adam is next.
Right.
Just a brief remark. I wanted to sort of steelman what Shauna was saying, since, Armin, you were saying you didn't quite see the point, but I think I saw the point in what Shauna was saying.
Okay.
And I'm just going to do that using a concept from psychology called the fundamental attribution error. That takes the morality out of it. Just in descriptive psychology, if we want to explain someone's action, people are biased towards saying, well, they did that because of the kind of person they are. So people will say, well, this soldier did it because he's a Christ hater. But what Shauna was doing was giving a dispositional, or sorry, a situational explanation. And it could have been he had a bad day. You could have this. It may be much more complex. And it doesn't mean you have to condone or support anything. But in terms of understanding what
I
causes
un-
a soldier to do that,
I
it's
I completely understand that. I don't understand the point of it, because if we are here, we're either doing descriptive or normative. Okay, so if you're going to be completely descriptive to then evaluate whether or not we are doing the normative part right, then we're mixing the normative and descriptive. Okay, so we're judging something, and then you are now going on full descriptive, but then by being going full on descriptive, then now you're judging if we are doing the normative part right or not. And I think, well, if you're fully being descriptive, then how can that be used to judge whether we're doing our normative right or wrong? You're either on the normative lane or on the descriptive lane.
Well, I think the normative can be wrong if you get the facts wrong. So if we get the facts wrong that he did it because of the kind of
No,
person
but
he is, then the normative
no,
will
no,
be
no.
wrong.
I know. Like, but here's the thing. So, for example, I could be like, "Oh, fucking ISIS terrorists are like evil," right? And then somebody else could come and show me the explanation for why this person became an ISIS terrorist, right?
Yes.
All the steps from his childhood to eventually where they got, and they're not excusing it; they're just explaining it, and I understand that, right? But then, if when you finish that explanation, then you come and say like, "Oh, so therefore." We should understand where this person is coming from. Like when you were explaining it, I was like, okay, this is really good, useful information for us when it comes to the explanation part, right? But then all of a sudden, when we are, bridging that wall, and then sounds like, maybe you're not excusing it, but then you are, while we were judging that person negatively, then you say, well, we should be mindful of this. To me, then all of a sudden, maybe even though it wasn't attempted to be a justification, might come off as a justification. Does that make sense? Does what I'm saying
It can
make
totally
sense?
come off that way, which is why I'm trying to tease that apart, because you want to blame the right thing. If he did it because he has hate in his heart, then absolutely you should blame him for that. But if he did it because he has a bad day, then you should blame him for acting badly on a bad day. It depends on what's actually going on. I think she's just saying we don't know the situation. We don't know what
Yeah, but
really
it's hard.
motivates someone.
But even in the
So
description,
it's
even in
not
the
proof of it.
explanatory, it doesn't make sense to me, because usually people who have a bad day, they don't do something that is so that could be so. If we do Occam's razor, right? So this is what I was saying, right? If you do Occam's razor and you see a behavior like this from an IDF soldier, it's it's more likely that it's in line with some really far right religious mentality rather than somebody having a bad day. And even if they were having a bad day, when you try to express having a bad day in that such a way, for me, the most likely explanation is some underlying hatred towards a religion.
It's interesting. I won't belabor the point, but I'll just note that I think the fundamental attribution error comes from people over applying Occam's razor to other people, because it means we do it to other people. When we explain our own behavior, we give more complex
No,
explanations. So that's the
yeah,
idea.
but we're justified to use Occam razor with other people, because when we're talking about ourselves, we have more data. You use Occam razors when you have less data. So you were justified to use Occam's razor with other people.
Yeah, it depends how much data we want to wait for. I won't belabor the point, but I just think
Yeah,
it's helpful to think of
I
that
mean,
in
when you
terms
have
of
more data, then it makes sense to have another position. But you don't have to wait for more data. You go by probabilities when you have less data, and that's when you use Occam's razor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the probability that he's a true hater or not, but I would just be a
Well,
bit more agnostic.
you use statistics and observations that you have in a society, and you could like here's the thing: if if you see like an atheist burning a Quran, right? You wouldn't say like, oh, maybe he was just trying to do like he didn't have any other paper and he was just trying to do campfire, right? You were like, this is I know this is an atheist, he's burning the Quran. The most likely explanation is that this is him, showing like doing blasphemy against Islam as a display of his hatred for Islam. You wouldn't be like, well, maybe he was just trying to start a campfire and he didn't have any other piece of paper. That is a possibility, but that's not the first thing you go to, right?
Well, it's not the first thing people do go to. Supposedly, the fundamental attribution error means that people are mistaken and always going to the simple explanation. The devil may be in the details of that. Maybe you're right. Maybe he probably is a Jesus hater, but I think Shauna was just saying we don't really know that.
Yeah, we
It
always
depends how accurate we want
obviously
to be.
when again we're dealing with probabilities. Everything else is possible, and we're not dismissing it. But until we have more information, it makes sense to go with the most probable explanation. It's a justified belief is not necessarily true.
Well,
Something doesn't have to be true.
is half of
Hold on. Let me just finish this. This
sure.
is an important statement.
Yeah,
Something doesn't have to be true to be a justified belief.
that's true. That's true. But I don't
Okay.
know if half the population is hateful. I maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think
I
that
didn't say half the population.
but if we just say like he's a person,
I
once
think
we
I
say he's
didn't say half the population is hateful, but somebody smashing a Jesus statue is probably hateful towards at least Jesus, right? It's probably like yeah, that is saying I'm judging half of the population as being hateful is like I don't think makes sense. I'm just looking at, but somebody putting a sledgehammer into the face of Jesus, that is I think it increases the odds of that guy not liking Jesus just by a tiny bit. I think a tiny bit, right? Okay, I know,
yeah, I
I
don't know
know.
if we start at
Okay.
50% or not, though, is why I brought in the base rate of the whole human population. Like, if half the world was hateful, then yeah, I'd agree. Then it's over 50% with this guy. But if only 5% of the world is hateful, maybe we don't
No,
get over.
if okay, so if 1% of the world hates the Quran, okay, and I'm burning the Quran, that 1% doesn't apply to me. For me, if you see a video of me burning the Quran, for me, that percentage all of a sudden jumps to 95%, even though the statistics of the rest of the world is 1%. If you see a video of me burning the Quran, all of a sudden for me that jumps to 99%.
Yeah, well, I guess
I'm
I'll
calling
leave it
I'm
here.
calling clock on this.
Yeah,
If you want
I'll
to
leave it
keep
here.
Okay.
talking about it, put a 1 in the chat.
Yeah, maybe Shauna can tell her true belief of the probability. Anyway, that was my point.
Okay. Yep. So I still have Armin and Olga to respond quickly, please, so that we can go on to the list.
So I just want to quickly, I think we could all, I mean, we have a lot of disagreements here, but I just want to quickly, I think the main point I wanted to mention is that this got more international outrage than this. Okay? Over 7,000 Christians killed in Nigeria in 2025. This didn't get even close to as much attention as this. Just wanted to point that out.
That's a concept that we like to call no Jews, no news. Okay, Olga is next.
Yeah, hello everyone, and Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach for Israelis. I just wanted to mention that soldiers are teenagers. You can compare they're the same age as most of the American college students who you see marching in the streets or engaging in different activities. However, he's a soldier, he bears a responsibility for that, and I'm pretty sure he will be court-martialed for that action. And you saw the responsibility IDF took for this act. Of course, if we are talking about soldiers and teenagers who may share different views, and this act was simply irresponsible, not perhaps hateful, but also irresponsible. Once for smashing the statue, I felt sick about it, by the way. And the second was by taking photos and posted on I don't know where he posted it, Instagram or whatever. And this is very irresponsible act. This is like I hate and I show it to the entire world. And nobody cares what he hates on his private views, as long as he is a soldier. So probably will be court-martialed and bury a sentence for that. This is and the no army is from built of only saints. There are soldiers that do stuff which are unacceptable, but this act is as it is an unacceptable is much less unacceptable than killing somebody civilians intentionally like our enemies do.
I'm just joined, so forgive me if I'm repeating something, but I don't see that this incident moves the needle much in terms of people's views towards Israel. I think it's fodder for those on the woke right and in the anti-Israel segment of the right, but for those Christians, for example, who support Israel and view people as individuals and not as groups, I don't think this really changes much.
Let's hope.
I actually had something else to say, but I have to tell you something, Armin. That the idea that only young men do, like mostly young men do all these crimes. Do you know how dangerous that is? Because there's this like these in the West we have these things like, oh, men do more crimes than women and stuff, and it's really really dangerous. Like I literally have to grow up in like Indian culture, Western culture, and all these cultures that have been glorifying women so much as a young boy, learning how I'm automatically morally inferior to young girls simply for my gender. And I don't want my children to have that. So this is very, very dangerous. These ideas like young men do more crimes than old men and women, because this is going to cause stigma towards communities that, and I don't even know how to explain this. There is something going around in like Indian culture. If you don't know how it's like growing up as an Indian, we literally have call women goddesses and stuff in Hinduism, and that's like pretty problematic. In like Indian culture, like we excuse actions of women and stuff. In the West, they're beginning to do this stuff, and this is going to be really horrible. Like you stand up for liberal values, right? So classical liberalism, if we start elevating one group over the other, like one gender over the other, that's going to cause problems. If you say that one gender it commits war crimes, the other one does not, it's going to cause problems. Like people don't know about Cleopatra. People don't know about, I don't know. There's a few other queens who have committed war crimes and done horrible things. It's not just all men. So we shouldn't stand up for all this stuff. And please don't propagate these kind of ideas.
Okay, Tarun, close your mic. Let me explain stuff to you because I think you have a huge misunderstanding. First of all, I never said it's only men. Okay. And I never said women don't commit war crimes. Okay. But it's stats that men commit more crimes, violent crimes. Men commit more violent crimes. That is data, that is statistics. Okay. And this is not me putting women on a pedestal and trying to, and I'm not saying men are morally inferior. Women do many immoral things, but when it comes to violence, okay, there's this thing in our blood called testosterone. If you inject more women with testosterone, they're going to get more violent as well. But this is not me pretending that women are better than saying women are better than men, because the same testosterone that makes us more violent makes us more competitive and makes us more ambitious than women on average, right? So we are more violent because of testosterone and other things, but we're also more ambitious than women because of testosterone. We're also more competitive than women than testosterone. That's why that's why we often get the best jobs on average compared to women, right? So, but it also makes us more violent on average. So that's just biology and stats.
Yeah, and I
Yeah, I
completely
know
agree.
women have testosterone as well. It's just we have a lot more of it. But go on, sorry, Trevor.
Okay, I agree completely. Men are more violent than women, and this is because of testosterone, adrenaline, and all that stuff. But the fact remains that you see within, and this is mostly within adults and teenagers where this testosterone difference exists, and it's mostly adult men and teenage boys who are mostly doing these things. But the fact
No,
is, some little boys are growing up learning that they're rapists, that like some people, some grown-ups, they'll be more suspicious when a little boy does about little boys and little girls. They'll treat little girls like they're extremely really nice people and stuff like that. Like they are nice. I mean, like extremely sweet, can do no wrong. But the boys are always the mean ones. They're always some people. Like I have grown up. I don't know. I think I've grown up. I've watched movies and stuff that show people
you're
doing that
mixing,
stuff, and this stuff also
Karen,
happens
you're
in
mixing
real life.
saying let me say this, okay? Men are more violent. Most men are not violent. These two are not contradictory, okay? So men rape more often than women, okay? A lot more. However, most men don't rape. Do you understand how both of these are true at the same time? Most men don't rape, but men rape way more than women.
That's what I know.
So that's not a paradox, right? So saying men rape more than women is not accusing men, because even though that is true, still most men never rape. Just saying that the percentages are higher is not a negative view of men, because still most men are good. Most men are not violent. Most men do not rape. So it's not an anti-male position to have by saying that men on average rape a lot more than women. Does that make sense?
Yes, but a lot of these feminists and school staff don't understand that. They're teaching that
Well,
men are
that's not
bad
my problem.
and women are just good.
What?
Okay, but
Well, that's because they're retarded. What does that got to do with what I said? So
yes,
how
but things that we
like
say like this can help them. It can fuel them. Like you know
that?
what
I'm
it's
just
like when
everything I'm saying though is, did I say anything that was not factual? Should I not say things that are factual because it
you
fuels
should
them?
say you should say things that are factual, but do you understand? I've watched a lot of your stuff. You know more than anyone what it's like when you give credit to horrible ideologies. It becomes harder to kill them. You know that more than anyone else. So that's what I'm telling you. We need to fight against horrible ideologies
So
like
let me,
modern feminism,
Terry,
not
let me tell
older
you.
feminism,
Do
but
you
modern.
believe in evolution? Do you believe in evolution?
Yes, personally, I do.
Okay.
Human evolution,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. You understand that Nazism, okay, was inspired by Darwinism, right? It
Yes.
was inspired. Okay. So somebody suggesting that, oh, we shouldn't say, like, we shouldn't teach evolution because Nazism came from Darwinism is like ridiculous, right? Just because they came up with their retarded ideology from evolution, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be teaching the truth, right?
Okay, I understand that.
So if I say men rape more than women, if you say, well, some people could take that and all of a sudden create this anti men narrative from it, okay? Well, the thing is that that's a fact, and I'm going to say it because it's fact, right? I mean, you do have a point. You do have a point. Let me actually give you some credit, okay? Because I used to think that a content creator or a speaker does not have the responsibility of how his message is being perceived, okay? As long as he or she is giving the correct information. But you're right that you need to, because it could be misused, you need to be more careful in how to package it in a way so that the chances of it being misused is minimized. Okay. So maybe for example, it would be a good idea that every time you say men rape more often than women, it would be a good idea to quickly follow up by saying, however, remember that most men don't rape. So that it cannot be misused, right? Would that satisfy you? Like something
Okay,
like that?
that would
That
satisfy
clarification?
me. Okay. As
Okay.
long as you
Okay.
understand, as long as white people, men, young people, straight people don't become the new Muslims, I'm fine with saying whatever. I believe we should say the
Hey,
truth. As long as it doesn't fuel hatred, I'm fine with
hey,
whatever.
Tarun, I've been fighting against both anti-female bias and anti-male bias at the same time. There's a lot of anti-male bias, and I've been fighting against that at the same time.
Thank you for that work of
Okay, I
yours.
know, and I also acknowledge that anti-male bias is less recognized, and more people don't see it, and more people pay more attention to anti-female biases, and they don't pay enough attention to anti-male biases in society.
Exactly, because this is actually going to fuel misogyny. When men continue to get hated, they're going to start hating women, and I don't want that. It's just like when we start
Yeah, yeah.
hating women, they're
No,
going to
I
hate
know, I know.
men.
I know
Hatred
that, and
fuels more hatred.
I've been fighting against that, and I've actually been inspired by Susanna, who's here in the chat, to also be more vocal about that as well. So,
Okay. All
Okay.
right,
all right,
that's so.
Thank you, Taryn. Let's move on. Joshua is next.
I watched a video that you posted prior to this the day before, and it brought up some good subjects to use here. You asked what I might think the percentage of people that are doing it just for the money for the regime and or doing it because they really believe it. Me personally, I think it's about 60% of them are there doing it for the money, and that maybe 30% of them are doing it for faith, but only 12 of them really believe, and that the others have been actually just brainwashed in. And then one more thing that I'd bring up, it's not good for them to keep jumping back and forth. The regime with being on Trump, leaning more toward Trump would like, and then not what he would like because of what the people think. Because that's going to put them in more of a bad standing with Trump altogether. And like I said, Shavicha, and I respect and love what you and Goldie and everybody's doing here. And just that's all for me. What's your rebuttal?
Wait, so you're saying, okay, so for context, in a video that I made, I was talking about the different parts of regime supporters and people who work for the Islamic Republic. I was basically going over how many of them do this because they believe in the revolution, they believe in the ideals of the Islamic Republic, and how many of them are doing this because they're getting paid, like because they're more financially motivated. And I also talked about how this is not binary, this is more of a spectrum. I don't understand what your question about that is. First of all, I don't know where you got those numbers, like that 60% number, because I don't think anybody has that number. But what was your question exactly, or your challenge?
No, I think that you were just, my English might not be right when I say rebuttal. I meant to say response. No, just I was mentioning what my numbers are. Like it's like it seemed like you were asking the public what you thought about it. You know, like I was mentioning what I thought and mentioning some things and trying to hear what you thought too.
Yeah, I don't think I wasn't asking for percentages because I don't think anybody could come up with a percentage.
And then also, yeah, the flags, the hijabs being flags, saying Islam is here. I've seen that here in my hometown too, a lot. They haven't done the praying in the streets thing like they did in the UK and France and Texas, though.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's happening. It's a global trend, and it's happening. Yeah, that's why we're trying to stop it. They were trying to stop. We're trying to fight against it. Did you have any other questions, or like I thought you were challenging me on
Oh
something?
no, I just wanted to be here and make. That's why I pressed the one. I wanted to say what I thought about a few things and just
Okay, all
Shavit
right,
along the king,
okay,
and
Rabisha.
love you
Well,
guys.
thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
And again, I want to remind people, if you want to get on the list to talk, there's a chat, and you can put a one in the chat, and I'll put you on the list. Okay, I am next on the list. Armin, you mentioned before that you want to move towards calling people Jew hater instead of anti-Semite. The problem that we're observing with calling people anti-Semite is that no one can agree on what that term means. Some Jews, including me, think that accusing Israel of every crime under the sun is anti-Semitism. Other Jews, not including me, think that Elon Musk doing a gesture that kind of resembles a Nazi salute is anti-Semitism. And this gives room for anti-Semites to claim the following: I don't hate all Jews. I just happen to believe every conspiracy theory ever invented about Jews doing evil things. And I hate people who do evil things, but I don't hate Jews per se. And people accusing me of anti Semitism are accusing me of hating all Jews, and therefore they're wrong. My approach is that I try to explain every time exactly what I mean, that anti Semitism is subscribing to anti Semitic conspiracy theories, which are those that say evil Jews do evil things for evil Jewish reasons, usually for the purpose of patching over gaps in your understanding of the world. But I'm interested in the intended tactics behind the word Jew hater or any other tactics.
So, when I say Jew hater, because I think anti-Semitism has been thrown around so much that it doesn't describe how big of an evil this is, and I thought like a new name for like this name captures that better, right? And whether you say Jew hater or anti-Semitism, I don't think that if you're basically talking about individuals, then that individual could always come and you know come up with a narrative that might suggest that because you can never know, you can never make a claim about somebody's true intentions. As Shana and Adam were here, there are other possibilities. Okay, maybe somebody's retarded and they believe in the conspiracies for other reasons other than Jew hatred. Okay, but so when I talk about either anti-Semitism or Jew hatred, instead of talking about specific individuals and deciding whether they are anti-Semitic or they hate Jews, is to look at an event and a reaction to it, or basically the amount of news coverage something gets, because with each individual you could come up with an excuse, okay? And I don't care. Like, you're just one person, right? You were like, no, I don't hate Jews, I just this excuse, that excuse, that excuse, okay? And nothing is impossible. Maybe for that individual that is correct, right? But when I look at, for example, the reaction to an IDF soldier breaking a Jesus statue in Israel, and you see such huge reaction to it, and then other people, Muslims killing Christians in Africa, and that not getting that level of reaction to it. When you control for all the factors globally in every single event like that, one individual could get away with coming up with excuses for, well, like, no, I'm not anti-Semite, I'm just criticizing Israel, or this is the reason why I'm focusing on this, and it has nothing to do with Jews, right? But when you look at crowds of people and entire news and things that trends on social media, and the level, like, for example, if you look at all the members of United Nations having this many statements, this many declarations against Israel, all of the what is it called, Bayoni in English, everything that every single declaration and United Nations against Israel, if you combine them, doesn't add up to all of their declarations against North Korea, China, the Islamic Republic combined, which doesn't make any goddamn sense, right? So those cannot be, if you control for all other external or resolutions, all resolution, if you count the resolutions, it doesn't, that all combining all of that doesn't add up to the numbers of resolutions they have against Israel, right? uh, when you have anecdotes of individuals, they could come up with excuses. But when you look at populations, then stats don't lie. And if you control for external factor, there's always one thing that determines this level of a reaction, this level of hostility, this level of defenses, this level of condemnation. So that one factor seems to always be Jews all the time. And you cannot do this with an individual, because an individual is only an anecdote. So you don't have data to be able to say, like, hey, look, I did an analysis and I determined that you are an anti-Semite, or that you are an anti-Jew, or you're a Jew hater. Because if you say you are a Jew hater, you're saying that I can read your mind. And when it comes to one individual, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I know what you're doing is hurting Jews. So when it comes to individuals, rather than me declaring that person as an anti-Semite or a Jew hater, unless they declare it themselves and make it obvious, but unless they declare it themselves, I would say, I don't care what your intentions are. The consequences of your actions hurt Jews. So when it comes to individuals, I care about the consequences of their actions rather than their intentions, unless they make their intentions clear. But when it comes to Jew hatred existing in the society, because now I have data, I don't have to read minds anymore. I have stats, and I can control for other factors, and I could determine that the Jew hatred is the only thing that explains this level of hate, this level of reaction, or this level of hostility. Does that make sense, Danny?
I agree with this as an analysis of what's going on, but I thought that the purpose of talking about Jew hater versus anti Semitism is to have tactics for explaining to people what's going on. And
Yeah, but
I don't
on a
think you're listening.
societal basis, no, on an individual basis, oh, like, your actions are in effect anti-Semitic or Jew hatred, like, and anti-Jewish. So you could say, like, oh, I'm anti-Zionism, but I'm not anti-Jewish. Okay, and I would like, I know that on average, anti-Zionism is because of anti-Jewish hatred. I know that, right? But if one person is saying that, I cannot prove that that's also true for this one individual, because with this one individual, I cannot read this person's mind. But on a societal basis, I could show with data that anti-Zionism comes from anti-Jewish hatred. So when it comes to that individual, instead of telling that individual that you hate Jews, unless that person says I hate Jews, then I don't have to guess anymore. But instead of telling that person that you hate Jews, I'm going to say you're hurting Jews. your actions and your narrative is anti-Jewish, whether you're doing it intentionally or unintentionally. You're basically against the being anti-Zionist means that you're against the right to self-determination for Jewish people. That's what it means. So maybe you're retarded and you don't know that, and that if you're either a Jew hater or you're retarded. Okay, one of these two. Okay, you're one of these two. So, I mean, if I call that person retarded, I'm being charitable to them because I think it's better to be retarded than a Jew hater. So I'm going to be kind to you, and I'm going to assume that you're retarded and you don't understand how being anti-Zionism is bad for Jews, right? So this is me being charitable. But I don't know which one. I don't know if this person is a Jew hater, so I'm not going to assume. I'm just going to say, well, the results of your activities is against Jews. So I'm not going to judge which one is true for you, but on a societal basis, I could judge that anti-Zionism is motivated by anti-Jewish hatred. And the language change is only a strategic, like calling it Jew hatred instead of anti-Semitism is it's mostly an as a way for it to have a more of an impact when we talk about this event. It's not. I'm not talking about whether we could judge like whether it would help us judge individuals or not. I'm just thinking if we refer to this phenomenon as Jew hatred, I think it could be taken more seriously than anti-Semitism. Does that make sense, Danny? Oh, is Danny is frozen? I think. Okay, Danny's gonna come back.
I got disconnected for a second.
Okay. All right. So yeah,
Well, the context that the context that I was thinking of is like maybe you show up to Piers Morgan and he asks you as he always does, do you think that Dave Smith is anti-Semitic?
Oh, if they ask me, like, I don't care. I just know what he's saying is hurting the Jews. I don't like I can't read his mind, but he's either I don't care what his intentions are. I just know what he's saying is wrong and it hurts Jews. What he says and what he stands for and what he advocates for is hurting Jews. I can't read his mind.
Oh, all right. Hopefully, we'll get to see you say that on the show at some point. Okay, Samantha wanted to respond.
Like, the thing is, if someone is genuinely against the existence of any nation state whatsoever, I have a hard time rationalizing, like, calling that person an anti or like a Jew hater if they're just like totally opposed to the existence of a country, like any country existing. And like personally, I'm gonna say this: I feel like I can do more good by what's it called? Not not saying that like anti-Zionism is always anti-Semitism, even though I agree it's almost always like in practicality it is almost always. I feel like I personally can do more good by relinquishing it because I feel like I'm just able to have more conversations that would just be totally close to me if I didn't, concede that anti-Zionism is always anti-Semitism. I feel like one thing is like, there's a quote I heard that I really love that said like the biggest scam in racism was expelling all of your Jews to Israel and then saying you have nothing against Jews, just Israelis. I feel like what we need is we need to start normalizing the term like Israelophobia.
That's why I said that if you're an anti-Zionist, there's two options. I didn't say you're necessarily an anti-Semite. You're either an anti-Semite or a Jew hater, and the other option is that you're retarded, right? So if you don't hate Jews, but you're against Zionism, okay, then you're retarded, right? So that's why I don't think that it's always anti-Zionism doesn't always mean anti-Semitism. So I agree with you. Yeah, so Torah is saying misinformed. Like, yeah, I just like to go. Basically, I was saying the same thing. I just like to use. Ever since they freed up the word retarded, I can't stop using it. So instead of saying ignorant, misinformed, not very intelligent, I'm just like using the R word because it's been free. They released it for all of us. So I'm just saying. Right, yeah.
Okay, and Cat Lady?
Yeah, I'm on a busy street, so if I'm just turning it off, it means that like an ambulance is going by. Is everybody hearing me okay right now?
Yes.
Okay. I want to say to what Samantha said, if you're racist and you hate black people, brown people, Asian people, then it still makes you specifically a racist towards any one of those groups. Like if you're like hating everyone, you're still hating each one, right? So if you're against nation states, among this, you're still anti-Zionist, and among this is why you're still anti-Jewish in my perspective, because you're still like against the existence of a country that gives like safety and security to people. So it's just semantics, but it's still that. It all started from the convention where they said like anti-Zionism is the racism. It's like it just shows you how successful this propaganda was. This is incredible.
I mean, like for example, we have some really religious Jewish people who are anti-Zionism because they think you should wait for the Messiah to come back, right? So I
No,
wouldn't,
but
I
they're not
wouldn't put them.
anti-Zionist in this way.
Let
They're not.
me finish my sentence. I was almost all this close to finishing my sentence.
Okay, sorry.
I would call those people. I would put those people in the retarded category rather than the anti-Semitic category, right? Because they're not like I wouldn't say that these people hate Jews, right? But go on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's too noisy here, but I would agree with you. But I don't think that they are against Zionism. But okay, I'll be back later.
They say they are. I've heard them say they are.
Okay, but she has to go, so she can't defend herself.